Welcome to Power Politics, where we prepare you for your next political conversation. I'm Jerónimo Cortina, political science professor at the University of Houston.
And I'm Brandon Rottinghouse, also a political science professor here at the University of Houston. Thanks for hanging out and talking politics with us. This, Jerónimo, is our last show until September. We're going to take a little summer hiatus. We obviously are going to see a lot of politics between now and September when we come back. So our goal for this week is to talk about the things to watch for summer and then for early fall. A lot of things are going to happen between now and then, and they're going to have a really big impact on the state and on the nation as it sets itself up for the 2024 election. So let's dig right into some big news of the week, and that's that Joe Biden is going to visit Florida this week, where he's going to talk about the 6-week abortion ban that the Florida legislature has set to put into effect, really focusing on reproductive rights. Now, of course, this is set against the backdrop of the former president on trial and basically continuously violating his gag order, which could find some political liabilities with it. I mean, there's a possibility that him being rambunctious in and out of court could turn off some voters and highlight the fact that, you know, hey, by the way, I'm on trial for something. So it could be a problem. But Joe Biden is hoping to kind of refocus, really ignore that, which is really interesting. Like just to say, I'm not going to talk about that. He doesn't want to politicize it any more than it already is politicized.
Correct.
But instead he's going to talk about abortion politics, which is going to be a huge framing issue for 2024. So like, what do you make of the speech and sort of how he's trying to frame this big picture?
Well, I think, you know, it's just basically very simple, right? It's not, or the main argument is this is not a state level issue.
Yeah.
This is about women and reproductive rights, and this is about women making decisions about, you know, their pregnancies, about their bodies, right? So it's framing the issue in a pretty narrow sense. It's framing an issue not in terms of state rights, not in terms of anything else. And he's arguing, you know, the Supreme Court got it wrong. Yeah. So it's, you want to fix it. This is an issue that matters to you. It's bread and butter issue. It's, you know, individual level issue. People can relate to it. And that's it. And especially given that, you know, abortion nowadays, you know, a vast majority or big majority of the country supports abortion, right? Yeah. And in terms of how needs to be filtered down is, well, I mean, if you don't agree with abortion, don't have it, right? But your preferences, given if they're, you know, religious or whatever it is, cannot be imposed on other people. So very interesting in terms of how he's framing the issue.
I think you're right. It's a very winnable issue. It's a very simple issue at its core, right? And I think it's a sellable one for a lot of voters. I don't know if the Democrats are going to win Florida. In presidential elections, it's close. It's like a Republican +4 the last couple cycles. But in the 22 cycle, Ron DeSantis and Marco Rubio win big, right, by almost 20 points. So Florida's not necessarily in play. But as you say, that's not the point, right? This is not a Florida issue. This is a national issue. He's just using this as a kind of opportunity to prime the base. But it's more than just that. So in the 2 years after Roe was reversed, the number of red and blue states that have put abortion-related topics on the ballot has increased. So in every time, it's been the case that it's won. California, Kentucky, Maine, Kansas, right? Notable swing states, conservative states, abortion has been a motivator. The other thing is that this is an issue that really does prime younger voters. So especially younger voters who are Democratic leaning and who generally want abortion to be more legal than it is a winner for Democrats. So it's a smart play for them. And I think it'll pay off long run, but that's something obviously they're going to have to kind of continue to prime as things go. Let's switch and talk a little bit about Texas before we talk about the big picture of kind of what to watch. Representative Tony Gonzalez got into some trouble this week, publicly calling some of his colleagues in the House scumbags. Why? Why?
Well, I mean, he was talking about the bill or the aid to Ukraine, Israel, and the Pacific region, right, to Taiwan. Just arguing that, you know, some of these people did not vote for it. And that's just... according to him, they are just scumbags for not supporting this thing and putting their partisan or the ideology before the national security of the country.
Right. So it's a political argument that gets pretty nasty, but it's also to some degree personal, right? Because some members have chosen to back Brandon Herrera, who is Tony Gonzalez's opponent. So Ralph Norman is planning to endorse Herrera. Eli Crane said he's going to back Herrera. And then Eric Burleson also said that he's going to back Tony Gonzalez's opponent. What's stunning to me about this is that you see a real divide here, number one. You see the party really split, and Gonzalez is kind of caught in the middle. He's always been somebody who's been very outspoken about border issues, but he has a very particular point of view since he represents literally the district along the border.
And has lived there, not like Herrera that used to live somewhere and then 2020 came back. Fair.
Or Ralph Norman from South Carolina, or Eric Burleson from Missouri. They have different levels of border. But as you know, that the support for that sort of policy is really rooted in partisanship more than about kind of that sense of place. But Gonzalez has his point of view, and he's trying to find a footing in the party. That is found success among some, so that he does have support from the speaker, right? The Speaker Johnson was in San Antonio this week. He had raised a bunch of money for Gonzalez. So that divide is pretty clear.